The Golden Awoken skill on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, my boys. Let's be real. This is a skill that has pretty much been forgotten about. And I'm not saying forgotten in the sense that, well, nobody uses it, but forgotten in the sense that you really do not see it that much anymore. I mean, you really don't see many Frieza races to start with, but when you do see them, you don't see them using Golden too much. Most of the Frieza races that I come across are still using Potential Unleashed till this day because, well, it is the best Awoken skill for that race till this day, especially when you're talking about PvP. But the Golden form itself, I truly feel, is one that definitely needs a buff. Because, I mean, look at DLC 16. DLC 16 was the DLC of Awoken skills. We had Beast added in. We had Blue and Blue Evolution buff. And we even had Super Saiyan 3, which is an Awoken that came out at the same time as Golden, received a buff as well. Now, it wasn't like Super Saiyan 3 got a major buff or anything, but it got a buff that makes it a viable Awoken skill at this point in time after DLC 16. Now, Golden, on the other hand, I just don't think is really a Awoken worth running at all. Like, even when it comes to PvE based things, now you can just use Beast. So Golden has just completely lost all of its, you know, glimmer, glitter, whatever the hell they call, all of its shininess basically has been lost with this Golden form. So I went into the lab and started thinking, went into super deep think mode, right? Started figuring out what could possibly change for this Awoken skill to where it would actually be one a lot of people are using, but at the same time, not one that is like overcoming and getting better than Super Saiyan Blue, Blue Evolution, for example, because those are DLC Awokens, and those should definitely be at the top when you're talking about best Awokens in this game, right? So let's take a look at how Golden actually looks at this point in time on Xenoverse 2, because these are the stats that Golden has as of right now, guys. As you see, 30% skill key skill increase, a 15% speed boost, 20% basic key damage increase. So what I'm talking about basically is if you just hold down circle or B, that key blast that you get actually goes up 20% in damage, and obviously the form of it changes as well, making it a fairly annoying key blast to deal with, I will not lie. But then also you get a negative 10% to your key restoration and a negative 15% to your defense. That negative 15% to your defense is really, really detrimental to a Frieza race and this Awoken skill, because I mean, you got to think about it off the bat. Right once you transform, it's like your opponent is unlocking Potential Unleashed for themselves, because what Potential Unleashed does is give you a 15% increase to all attack categories. Well, when you have a 15% defensive debuff, that means every single attack you take will do 15% more damage. So again, it's almost like a free Potential Unleashed Awoken for your opponent just for the buffs that you see above. Like, the negatives of this Awoken skill do not match the buffs that it gets by any means. There's no way a negative 10% key restoration and negative 15% defense should only be equal to a 30% key base increase, a 15% speed boost, and a 20% increase to your basic key blast damages. Like, that is awful. Like, think about Super Saiyan Blue, for example. This is an Awoken that gets 25% increase to all damage categories. It gets an increase to the amount of stamina that you restore, and it also gets a defensive increase at the same time. It gets all that, and the only negative is a slight, and I mean slight, decrease to your or slight decrease to your key at all times. Like, it's just an auto key decrease that is very, very minimal now after the new DLC 16 update. So do those two Awokens compare at all? Like, are they even close? And my answer is no. Like, Golden is so far in behind, mainly due to these negatives that it gets. But even without the negatives, it still wouldn't be that great of an overall Awoken skill. So I have now put together a graphic that shows the buff version of how I think this skill should be buffed, and I think if it did get these buffs, it would definitely be used a lot more. So as you guys see on the screen this time around, we still have the 30% key skill increase, 15% to your speed boost. I didn't touch any of that. 20% basic key damage increase. Again, didn't touch any of the natural buffs that it already gets, but we changed up some things just a little bit. First and foremost, a 15% increase to your basic attack. This would finally give people a reason to actually run this Awoken over Potential Unleashed, because Potential Unleashed gives a 15% increase to all categories. And as a Frieza race, you are most likely going to be making a key-based build. So would you rather run something that gives 15% to all categories, or something that gives 15% to your basic, but also 30% still to your key-based skills as well? That alone right there would be a major buff that I feel would attract a lot more people back to this Awoken right here. Now, instead of the 2 negatives that it gets as of right now, I decided to change that up a little bit to something that is very important in a PvP match, but at the same time, you won't really notice this that much, but it definitely will have some effect as well, and that is a negative 5% to the stamina recovery. Your stamina recovery will still be fairly fast. It's just going to be going up 5% slower than it normally does. But at the same time, you're getting rid of that defensive debuff, which is just absolutely trash. And then also getting rid of that negative 10% to your key restoration as well. I will take a negative 5% stamina recovery and a 15% increase to my basic as a trade-off for those 2 other debuffs and nerfs that I mentioned that Golden already does have. So to me, this right here would make an Awoken skill that I truly think a lot of people would probably use. Like, I really think this Awoken right here would get a good amount of use without a doubt, because again, the biggest detriments right now that Golden has, one, is that defensive debuff. That defensive debuff is just absolutely awful, I'm not gonna lie. And then 2, the simple fact that it only really increases your key-based skills. Like, an Awoken that only increases your key-based skills in 2023 really isn't that great. So I truly hope that since Bandai seems, or DIMP seems to be patching and touching up on these Awoken skills like they did in DLC 16, if and when DLC 17 does happen, that we actually get something for the Golden Frieza race, guys, because the Golden Frieza race, like I said, it's one of the coolest looking transformations in this game, but at the same time, one you really just do not see that much, and that's because, well, let's be real, it is not one of the best Awokens on this game, and it's really not even close as it stands right now at this point in time. So let me know your thoughts on the Golden Frieza race Awoken as it is in the game, and what you think about my new version of it and how I would like to see it get buffed in Xenoverse 2. And if you would like to make some other changes yourself and put together a different version of Golden, feel free to share that down below in the comments. But till next time, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, hope you have a good one. Peace, y'all.